All right, welcome, gentlemen. We are filling in with a couple of stand-ins here because Ryan's out, and so I'm Greg. I'm joined in here by Chris and Tino. Gentlemen, how are you? And how was Atlanta for you?
Doing great. Happy to be on with you guys here tonight. Atlanta was awesome as well. If people are wondering, I got into a fight with the sun, got a little burn here, but hopefully I'm red hot for this weekend in Chicago. So for Atlanta myself, talked about some drivers win the race. Obviously got Ryan Blaney. I was taking a chance on Kyle Larson as well in the last draft. That didn't pan out for me there. Big wrecks were happening, but I did watch. I caught the end of stage 3 as well, but I was keeping up with it, saw the big wrecks happening. To me, those last like 40 to 20 laps there was awesome racing. When the drivers talked about it being like a 2010 Daytona race, that to me is where it really came to life in those last few laps there, or the last sort of run that you had. And I thought that was really great racing. Happy to see Chase Elliott get the win, right? I mean, I didn't have him bet outright myself. Should have saw the signs, his home track, so that's on me. But ultimately, I did have Chris Buescher who was in the mix, a couple other drivers. But Chris, how about you? How'd you do in Atlanta?
Yeah, from a betting standpoint, not great. I was alongside winning the race with Team Penske bet, so early on that one kind of deflated the sales a little bit. But we had William Byron and Bubba as well, and that was exciting until it wasn't, because it seemed like Bubba was in every caution imaginable. He was spinning out. So yeah, it could have went better from a betting standpoint, but from a fan standpoint, absolutely no complaints. I love Atlanta. I love Atlanta, and I live in Charlotte, so it's the next track I want to get down to. It's a quick 3-hour drive for me. When the year comes to the end and it's time to cash in some fan rewards points, I promise you I will be at Atlanta next year.
There you go.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I mean, I think, Tino, as you just said, it reminded, me, I tweeted about it, mid race, and said like, hey, look, this reminds me of old drafting. This reminds me of what Daytona and Talladega used to be. And it's fantastic to see that kind of racing back on the schedule. I love, seeing those old drafting tracks. It's the tricks that, Dale and that entire generation, it's how they race. That's what it was. And so I was super excited to see it back. With y'all, the betting wasn't great for me this week. Ryan and I were talking about it. We're kicking ourselves. We're going, oh my gosh, like we showed value on Elliott, and didn't bet it. Like, what is wrong with us, right? Like, how are we going to do that? How are we going to show that and not bet it? So, that was disappointing. But the race itself was absolutely fantastic. I think I also saw some stuff this week. I saw, Dale Jr. talking about it and saying like, hey, the reason that it was so good is they've got a lift in the corners. It's like, well, no kidding. That's, what everybody's been saying about every freaking track on there, right? We need more off throttle time. And when we get that, we get the passes, we get it all. So I'm thrilled. I'm pumped to see it. It is definitely one of the best tracks on the schedule right now. And, I think all of us are just saying it was a fantastic race. I don't think there's anybody who's arguing that. And it sounds like all of us lost money and we're still going, hey, yeah, man, this is fantastic, right? I mean, if that's not the definition of what makes a race awesome, I don't know what is, right? I mean, so I think that's where we're kind of all at. So
quick side point real quick. If Tina, if you want to highlight Kyle's comment, I heard Denny bring this point up on his podcast. Well, not that one, the next one.
There we go.
Yeah. So, Greg, you talked about how Dale talked about lifting the corners, but Denny talked about how he doesn't think it would have been as good if it wasn't for that big wreck. So I'm just curious, like, what do you guys think about that? Because I personally still think it would have been good. I think that the more we go to Atlanta, the more it ages, it's going to get better. But I'm curious if like Kyle's point out here, like Denny said, if because there was less cars, there was more space, there was more room to generate that energy, if that's what made it as good as it was, or did you think it was still living up to being as good as it could have been even before that big wreck?
Well, I agree with that point for sure, but I think the only question I have with that is like, well, you can't cut the amount of cars in the field, and you also don't want like big wrecks either. See but like, so now am I rooting for big wrecks now because I want to see less cars and better racing? I don't know about that. I think to me, the thing is what we've seen at Daytona and Talladega recently, and that's just poor racing compared to what we've been seeing in Atlanta, but out of the super speedways specifically, it's just been hard to get behind because we know how great that product can be, and it hasn't been because it's been a fuel like saving type of race. I think if you can take the fuel saving out of it in some way, calculate different stages or whatever, I'm not a mathematician or a crew chief, so I can't really say exactly what's needed there. But to your point, and to Kyle's point here as well, I think if it was to happen, like in terms of making the cars race better like we saw there, I don't think you need fewer cars. I think you just need a better opportunity to create runs and not run in a standard pack or a train like we see at those two other super speedways. Greg, what do you think about that one though?
Well, no, I mean, I agree. I think we've seen that, right? I mean, some of it is, yes, as the track ages, we're seeing the track, kind of come into its own, get its own thing. But definitely, if we look back at the past couple of races, we didn't necessarily see the slingshot passes the way that we did, right? We did see more, not the same, but it was more similar to the product that we're seeing at Talladega and Daytona right now. And so, I mean, no, Denny's absolutely right. The cars being off the track opened up that space. And again, we would not have seen these kind of slingshot moves around each other that happened if we'd still had 40 cars on track, right? You knock it down to 30 cars, 25 cars, all of a sudden you do have that space to move around. Counterpoint, they've got that space at Talladega and Daytona, right? With 40 cars, right? You add another mile to the track, and it shouldn't matter whether you've got, 40 cars on track, 30 cars on track. Like, that should not matter. So what do we do to solve that problem at Talladega and Daytona? And it almost seems to be the case, as everybody's been saying forever, more horsepower, right? Like, give us more horsepower, give us that off throttle time so that they have to let off in the corners. And when they have to let off in the corners, that gives somebody the opportunities to fire up around it. These cars are supposed to be difficult to drive, right? That's the entire point. It's not supposed to be easy to drive these cars. And again, Dale was talking about it. He's like, look, the guys were squirrely as heck early in that race. They were bumping it up against the walls, like, didn't know what was going on. And that just, I mean, again, it was everything that we miss about the old drafting. And, there's a combination of things that I think led to it. I think we've touched upon a bunch of different ways that got us there. We can just hope that we see more of that. But I mean, you're absolutely right. We can't take cars off track. Like, we've already taken cars off track. And so, how much more can we really do on that point?
For sure. Appreciate everyone in the chat as well. Brian joining us saying what's good. Excited to get to Chicago, Chi-Town tomorrow. Appreciate, and Brian also saying sunscreen, Tino, sunscreen. That's on me. Should have used a little bit more of it, or if some at all, against my battle with the sun. Appreciate Robert in here. NASCAR does not think it's a problem, unfortunately. That is unfortunate, too. Like, we're giving them the feedback. We're having the draft. We're making great dialogue about it. Chris and Kyle bringing up great points. And NASCAR is hopefully tuning into us here because we got some solutions for them, as do the drivers. I don't know why they don't listen to the drivers as much, but I digress. Team 54 is saying shorten the rear wing, too. That'll help. That was Blaney's points. Sure, I would trust Blaney on a super speedway with whatever he's got to say. Unfortunately, trusted him with a lot of my money. Got into the big wreck there. Sean McBride in the chat. Appreciate you, Sean, saying that I'm looking mad cute today. Or is it just me? I think it's everyone. I think everyone's probably thinking I'm looking mad cute. As Big Ross says, sunscreen is overrated. And just wanted to pop back up to Phil's comment from earlier saying the weather postponed him to the Phillies game tonight. And that's God's way of saying Chris is getting him the win. And hey, before we continue on from that point, which is a good point from Phil, we got to go through the winning percentages from each of the draft members here. Greg's got the highest winning percentage out of all of us right now. He's 1 for 1. Chris, unfortunately, 0 for 1, spilling in for Phil, which I got to say is my favorite line. He's Phil's fill in. And Greg got that win for me. So great. This is awesome being here. What I know how much of a threat you can be. And then I was trying to do the percentages, didn't quite get to it, but it's like I got 7 wins out of the 19 races. Greg's got 6.5. Phil's got 4.5. So I'm excited to see how it goes with Chicago. Appreciate everyone with the chat as well. Let's keep it coming as we dive into what's coming up this week as well.
All right, so really quickly, I'll toss up just to that note. Ryan Ryan pulled off the last week win, so there it is, and there are your totals. Tino, you can knock you down to 6. I'll take that one. And so I guess that puts Ryan in the overall lead of us. But there we go. So to that end,
what stands
Chris,
out to you guys here, if anything, with you guys just tuning in? Like, so Greg and Chris, what would you have done differently for, I guess Ryan won, but so we'll start with you, Chris. For Phil, what would you have changed, do you think, on the bracket of his there?
Oof. God, let's try to remember who even survived. I guess the Trackhouse guys did not really show up. So the best, using 2 best of the rest of wildcard on those 2 guys, that's probably the biggest thing that hurt Phil here, I would think, because pretty much you guys were pretty lock and step until that point, and he even had Chase, which is crazy. So yeah, I would say the best of the rest of the wildcard, I think, was probably what cost him here.
Awesome. I don't know what I could have done differently on my end. I mean, 6 points from the win was tough. I liked my Todd Gillen play. Maybe that's where I could have had a Zane Smith, and that could have helped me out. But I liked my Ricky Stenhouse Jr., who was battling up for the win late at the goings of that one. But ultimately, hey, congrats to Ryan. We'll see if he can beat me here this week as well with Greg. But I don't know. Maybe Greg will sort of help him out because he's been on my team before. I'd like a little Tino win here. I'd like to take it to 8. So we'll see how Chicago goes in this one. Kyle saying Ryan wins and goes on vacation.
Ryan wins and goes on vacation. Yeah. That checks out that bum. So well, Chris, I'll kick it over to you for a little bit of a preview on what we got coming up here at Chicago.
Yeah, of course. So we are obviously heading to the Chicago Street Course in downtown Chicago. For anyone is from Chicago or knows the Chicago area, it's going through the Grant Park area. If you look at the track, it's a 12-turn, 2.2 mile road course, or street course, I guess, rather, I should say. Last year's winner was Alex Bowman. The winner before that was SVG. We are looking at practice and qualifying Saturday from 1 to 3 p.m. with the race coming on Sunday at 2 p.m. We're going to have 3 stages of 20, 25, and 30 laps. And unfortunately, I would advise, it feels like I said this last time I was on here too, but do not look at the weather for Sunday because it looks like we might be going 3 for 3 with rain in Chicago. But yeah, I mean, we've got 2 Chevy winners at Chicago. We had a Chevy winner, obviously SVG again, but it was in Mexico, a Chevy winner, and then Toyota, we had a winner of Christopher Bell. So interesting to see if Ford can get on the board here at Chicago, but Chevy seems to be the dominator so far at road courses in 2025 and 2024. So yeah, anything else you guys want to add on to that?
Well, I'm sad that it's going to rain. I feel like that is it's been a damper, really, literally, figuratively, symbolically, whatever you want to say. I'm look forward to this event for so many, like for the last few years, obviously, since it started. And I was there for the first rained out or, postponed event there in Chicago. And that one was tough because it was pouring. And I think if there's anything to take away from that, at least the drivers know what to expect. And, it still hurts the fans in a little bit. But as Brian said here as well, rain looks a little lighter. But if the rain does come into play, we know SVG is good for it. We know Tyler Reddick, Alex Bowman, like you said, maybe a little Kyle Larson. Although I wouldn't say Kyle Busch because the last time I watched Kyle Busch in the little wet weather conditions at Mexico, he looked like a pinball with all the other cars out there.
Yeah, I mean, it seems cursed. I think obviously, and we'll talk about it more as we get into it some, but you got to look at Bell just seems to be the Toyota, and Gibbs too. Both showed something. So we'll look out for that. But I mean, you hit the nail on the head. I mean, this race in particular has been Toyota or has been Chevy. So we'll see where we are with that. And
also the last year
again, as everyone said, hopefully this rain is lighter, right? Like let's just let's get this full race in. That's the thing that like drove me the most nuts about. It's like we took 25 laps off of the race last year. And we still didn't get the advertised distance. It's like, come on, let us have this race. Because when they're on the track, it's been really good. I mean, like the racing itself has been great at Chicago, and it's been unfortunate that we've been kind of denied some of that full laps. So
also kind of ironic that potentially 3 straight years of rain, and then all of a sudden now we're heading to San Diego next year. Where like, does it ever rain in San Diego? I don't know. Probably will next year though.
NASCAR's coming to town, so yes, it will.
All right, before we head into the draft, I want to get your guys' thoughts. Greg, I'll ask you this one here from the chat. Robert asking, thoughts on practice being in groups? For instance, Bell is in group 1. How much do you think that has an impact going into this weekend at Chicago?
Well, I mean, we weight stuff at Win the Race. We're going to use our practice model to, kind of try and sort that out and look at it. You do have to obviously pay attention for it, right? You got to look and see, first off, is the track overall different? And it's interesting, coming off of a super speedway, because that's kind of what's setting where we are, right? You're going to get some weirdness. In the practice groups because of that finishing position, playing a role. So I think that's important to look at. You really do. You got to look within groups, see how drivers are doing within groups, and then figure out how you're going to weight them and compare them, between the groups. At Win the Race, we've got, the model that kind of tries to do that for us, balance some of that, look at, what was the overall speed of the group and how were drivers, within the group as compared to each other. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely something you got to be very cautious on, and make sure that you're not, particularly if you've got a guy who's in, group 1 who, like their speed looks super high for the group. Okay, but what does that mean versus, group 2 if that's a faster group overall? So we'll just have to be keeping a close eye on it for sure.
Love it. All right, boys. What do you think? You ready to get into it? The draft here. And Greg, you're the game master, as Ryan is. So whoever you think should talk, that's your choice.
I am. So we will jump right into it, and let's get ourselves down here, and let me get it going for us so that we can get these picks tracked and get ourselves going. So look at that. I even made it work right away. The winning start. So I'll kick it off myself to start. And honestly, starting with 23-11, I don't think there's going to be a whole lot of surprise here. But 23-11 right here, I'm just going to go ahead and put myself in for Tyler Reddick. I don't think there's a whole lot to say about why that's the pick here, right? I mean, he's obviously the dominant road course driver of that group. He's, one of the best in the series overall, and certainly within the drivers there. You could look at Corey Heim and say, oh, yeah, I kind of like that some. The problem with that is the 4th car just hasn't really had anything. Like, yes, in his start earlier this year, he ended up being the top guy, but that's because everybody else wrecked out, right? So, I want to say like, oh, Corey Heim, like I like that, but I always struggle with that car. So, I just got to go with the dominant guy, and that's where we are. I can't imagine there's a whole lot of other thoughts on this, but Tino, I'll kick it over to you and say, are you going to shock us with somebody?
No, not in this spot, at least. Can't shock you. Gonna go Tyler Reddick as well here. I will say your Corey Heim stance is sort of if I was gonna lean on any other driver in that camp, it would be him. But this is a moment where I truly believe this could be where Tyler Reddick finally comes through this season, right? I feel like we've been showing you guys and Win the Race.info showing value on him almost each week, and they still haven't been able to get it done. I think, and we saw that with Ryan Blaney earlier on, right? That sort of was his MO. Fastest car each week, couldn't win the race. And I thought Tyler Reddick was sort of filling in the role after Blaney won at Nashville. And it seemed to be true. And I think now with the uptick in speed, but not only that, the finishing results being there for the 45 team to head to a place like Chicago where he really should have won last year, hit the wall when he was about to pass Alex Bowman. And I had a ticket on him for that one. And that was so close. So with the spot they're in this season and where he could have been in terms of victory lane at this track last year, I think, and one last thing I'll throw out to you guys, I like seeing these new winners, Chase Elliott, SVG, Chase Briscoe. Like, maybe you could not really say they're surprise winners because I think these are the guys that should be winning at those types of racetracks as they did. But I think it just bodes well for more drivers to keep winning. And the next guy up for me would be Tyler Reddick.
Yeah, absolutely. I hear that for sure. Chris, are you going different on us, or are we gonna be, just sweep it here?
Yeah, we're gonna sweep it here. There's some other places to take some shots, but this isn't the camp to do it. But you guys have already hit on it, right, with Corey Heim. Like, I went and looked at like his win rate in the trucks at road courses. He does have a 50% win rate in the truck series at road courses, which is pretty credible and probably should be more than that. But yeah, like Greg said, it's just hard to trust. It's hard to trust it in the Cup Series in a fourth car, and he's only run a few races in the Cup Series in general. It's just it's such a different atmosphere. But it's crazy though, because like if we were to pick a second driver, I feel like a lot of us might be considering Heim here, right? If we had to choose a second 2311 guy. But yeah, it's Tyler Reddick for sure. He's got a third and a 20th this year at the road courses, second in this race last year, and then as Tino said, probably should have won if it didn't hit the wall.
Yeah.
But as far as driver rating goes, Chicago, he ranks second in driver rating. So like he's very much there. If there's a road course that outside of COTA that I think that he could get it done at, it's here. So no reason to really flounder for anybody else here.
Now that makes sense. I think we're all, pretty strong in agreement on that. Chris, I will turn right back to you as we shift over to front row. Who are you going to pull from the front row camp?
I am going to go with Todd Gilliland. So yeah, he's got a average finish of 13 in the 2 years here, including actually a 7th place last year. He's a 10th place finish at COTA this year. He also qualifies really, really, really well at road courses. So far this year, even a 10th and a 7th. So with what we've seen from this team, it hasn't been great, but Zane and Noah are just not really my targets on a road course. Todd kind of feels like the safe pick, right? I just need him to finish 13th. I feel like if he finishes 13th, I think I'm in great shape. Mm-hmm. So I gave Zane a look just because he did finish 5th at the Glen last year, but outside of that, his average finish is 23rd at road courses, similar with Noah, 8th at COTA last year, but average finish of 26th at road courses. It's pretty bad. So I think Todd is the pretty easy choice here.
Yeah, I agree, and I'll jump in. My pick on it, and I'm gonna join you on Todd here. And I'll say this. You kind of hit all the points that most of the points I was gonna make. None of the front row guys have been great. Like the team has struggled. Across the board. That said, he's got a pair of top 10 finishes at the 2 road courses this year. And while, obviously road courses and street courses, we do definitely see some differences on them. It's the best we've gotten. So I'm gonna run there. We look at the 20,000 simulations we ran over Win the Race. We've got Gilliland, winning this group 50% of the time. So I mean, it's hard to go, oh yeah, we should be going a different spot there. So I think that was pretty easy on me as well. So Tino, you joining us, or we going another way?
Yeah, I'll be with you guys on this one as well. I got to make sure I get a win at some point. I've been in a little bit of drought, not gonna lie, in terms of winning some draft head-to-head matchups here. So I'm gonna go with Todd Gilliland to stay safe. If I were to pivot and make a change to just be different, I think I would look at a Zane Smith. Does rank 15th in terms of average finish at the Chicago Street Race. So only 2 races, to use for sample size. But I don't mind that, as I can see, a wreck happening, Todd Gilliland potentially being in it. But I think one thing that Todd has always been great at, is starting towards the back and actually finishing towards the front. And when you get that sort of, even in fantasy, if you guys are looking for place differential, that's a big play from him. But also, I just feel like that's what we're looking for, right? We talk about front row every week, and that's sort of the biggest thing with them is, can they get us a top 10 to a top 20? Todd Father in this one. Chad agrees with it. This is a good opportunity for him to do that, but also on a road course where I think they're all figuring out. Front row is a little tricky, I feel like, in the beginning of the year, but now they're all figuring out where they go. Like Zane Smith is sort of the mile-and-a-half guy. You can throw Gregson in there too. If we go to road courses, that's where I'd look at Todd Gilliland. So yeah, here we are in a street course. I think he fits that bill.
All righty. Well, we will then start to get into where I think we may see some differences and might have a little bit of fun and interest here. Tino, I'll stick right with you and let's jump into HMS. Who you got for our Hendrick pick?
All right, well, it's the guy that I didn't pick last week, and he ended up winning the race, Chase Elliott, for me in this one. I really like Chase now that he got that win under his belt. I know he probably wasn't worried about it because he had plus 100 points to the playoffs and everything like that, but you kind of know. Like, I feel like once you get that win, just like Chase Briscoe kind of mentioned it too, when he's racing for Joe Gibbs Racing, Briscoe specifically, when he won at Pocono, he said, man, like, it just feels more relieving than exciting. And I think that's sort of how Chase is feeling after this one. And when you take it to a road course in the next gen era where he has been so dominant at this types of, tracks, the street course specifically, on all road courses, including the street courses, second in terms of average finish to Chris Buescher, third, SVG ranks third on that list. And he's been getting these better finishes as well. That's the one thing that I wanted to know. I talked about that with Tyler Reddick as well, but Chase Elliott right now could be, if he keeps winning, the hottest driver in the sport. Mexico was strong. Atlanta, obviously, we saw that. And just, I feel like if he can get it back-to-back wins here, this could be huge for his season too. So I can see him contending with SVG for the win potentially, but if not, strong case for another top 5 finish here.
Absolutely makes sense. Chris, where are you headed on our HMS boys?
Man, this is like you said, this is the spot, I think, where we could have 3 different guys. I don't know. This is a really fun one to look at. I was prepared to go Chase, but I think I'm going to actually go with Alex Bowman in the 48, defending race winner here. So yeah, for Alex Bowman, obviously defending race winner, 37th place finish in 2023, which is not great. But in the last 2 years at COTA, for example, which is a race we've seen this year, 9th and 4th, a 4th at Mexico City, was very much in the running there, and an average finish of 4.33 so far this year in 2025. Alex Bowman, he kind of needs a kickstart. I feel like this is a race that he kind of looks forward to. He has been atrocious the past few weeks. So I really do think that this is a good spot for him, especially with how successful they've been on road courses this year. You've got to think that he's got a lot of confidence going into this week.
No, I'm right there with you. Bowman is actually going to be my pick here as well. Any of the HMS guys could win this race, right? I don't think there's any question. I think we look at all of them and go, yeah, they can all win this. They've all shown that they have the ability to win on road courses over the past couple of years in the Gen 7 car. But again, I'm gonna take Bowman. He's the defending race champ. He looked great at Mexico. He came in behind Elliott at that race for sure. So he behind the guy that Tino's picking here. But I think when we just look at it on whole, like Bowman, I think has a very strong case to be made here. So that's where I'm gonna roll with it. So I don't know if there's a whole lot else to say there, although I'll just hint we may be revisiting this team. I suspect we may be revisiting it for some others as we get a little bit further down as well. So well, Team 54, yes, this is where the fun begins, except then we got to jump right to Joe Gibbs. And there could be some interesting here too as well. I think we're probably really looking at 2 drivers, and I'll start it off, and I'll say that I'm going to go ahead and just put myself down here for well, he wants me to say Christmas. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and take Christopher Bell here. And I'm going to take Christopher Bell here if for no reason other than I wrote him up for a top 3 bet earlier today over at Daily Downforce and said, hey, we look at the stats. He's been really, really strong here. He's had 2 atrocious finishes. So I don't know, maybe the luck doesn't come to him, but he has led significant laps in both races. He has been really high in the top 3% of the laps, and just been bad luck has bit him and taken him out of it. So I'm going to look at that. I'm going to say, hey, I think this is the time. He's the number 2 in our model. He's both in our pre-qualifying ranks and in the actual simulations. So I'm just gonna run with it. And then I think that's what I got to say on that. So Tino, you going different?
Not going different quite yet. Potentially when we get to the big 3, but for now, keep me with Christopher Bell in this one, just like you said. And one thing that I wanted to know with him that really sort of makes me think he is now, he has been, but it's solidified as one of the top road course drivers, street course drivers, anywhere type of driver is Christopher Bell. It's how he raced in Mexico, right? Really strong. Obviously, SVG 17 seconds above everyone else. But if we're going to look for a guy that's a strong, spot to finish second or third in this race, just like you said, Greg, I think that's C. Bell. And especially when we're looking at the drivers to win outright, right? Like, if you guys, want to talk about some bets too, and other plays you got, just like you did there, Greg, I think this is a good opportunity to mention Christopher Bell, right? When we look at SVG as a clear favorite, plus 300 on some books, that was where he opened. Now I'm seeing plus 210, the best on FanDuel. Well, who's second? Christopher Bell plus 800. If we're comparing those two guys, that's major value, at least I would say, because of the fact that he's the second favorite to win the race by that much. So I think even if you guys wanted to hop on 2 outrights and it's SVG at such a low number live or something like that, Christopher Bell to open up the weekend at plus 800 to me, with seeing how he did at COTA and then finishing inside the top 3 at Mexico, I like his chances here in this one as well.
Has he moved back out to 8?
Yeah, I'm seeing 8-1 on Caesars right now.
Oh wow! I may have to grab my phone here and go do that because I like that number. I took, just betting wise, real quick, I'll say I took SVG at 250. But part of that was because Caesars had him down to 100, like had him at even money at one point, and I was like, all right, let me grab him at 250 over at that point it was at Bally. It's like, oh, maybe if we keep him at even money at Caesars, I'll get the no right, and I'll be able to just hedge it out. Didn't work out that way. Caesars did move him back to 200 and then made his no like minus 265 or something, so I couldn't get there. Bell at 10, yeah, that's a phenomenal. That's a
snipe. Yeah, shout out to Kyle there for the snipe, getting Bell at 10-1 and Ty Gibbs at 14. Ty Gibbs right now I'm seeing best is 12 too. So there you go, Kyle. Good shout out to him.
Yeah, no, those are fantastic numbers. So yeah, awesome. I would be all over those myself. But I guess we'll turn it back and Chris, you going different on our Gibbs picks here?
Well, on the Bell picks, yeah, I am going to go different. I'm going to go Gibbs, actually.
Oh, okay. Well, there we go.
That's a Freudian slip. You just didn't even know it. Yeah, this is, I think, the first spot for me to kind of pivot away from. I do love Bell. Like, there's nothing I have bad to say about Christopher Bell, but Ty Gibbs, man, he just continues to impress me at road courses. And I know there's a lot of guys out here, especially probably in the show right now, that have the under half wins or under a win, whatever it is, on Ty Gibbs for the season. And I'm sorry, but Ty Gibbs, he's going to find victory lane in the road course at some point. It just seems like he's knocking on the door. And Mexico, could we say that, like, outside of the driver behind the wheel, that Ty Gibbs might have had the best car? Outside of strategy, I think Gibbs ends up with a lead, and SVG has to fight for that win. So yeah, I really like Ty. Not to mention has finishes of 3rd and 9th here at Chicago. His drive rating looks even better than his finishes though. 1st and 6th, which ranks 1st in the 2 years we've been here. And on top of all of that, he qualifies a ton better than Christopher Bell. The one thing Christopher Bell doesn't do well at road courses is qualify well. Ty Gibbs has been phenomenal qualifying. So, yeah, at a street course where passing could be hard, hopefully no rain, right? Keep it raining so we have a lot of passing. I think Ty Gibbs, could qualify up front and stay up front all day long.
Nice.
No, that makes a lot of sense. I agree, and you're absolutely right. That caution does not come out when it does in Mexico. Gibbs is a threat to win that race. Absolutely. So he had a little bit of bad luck on that one. And I think there's some hunger there for sure. Particularly because he's in a really bad points situation overall right now.
Yeah.
Tino, you were talking about this a little bit ago, like, talking about the different winners, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's great. We talked about this in the Win the Race Discord earlier this week. We got 8 races left before the playoffs start, right? We could easily find ourselves 4 new winners who haven't won yet, right?
Oh, yeah. Yep.
And then if we get a 5th, all of a sudden, somebody with a win gets kicked out. So we're not out of that situation, right? Particularly with this, this lineup coming up here, all right? SVG could win this week. No doubt about that, right? But we got 2 road courses in a row. SVG could win. Busher could win, right? You get Busher a win somewhere. You get SVG a second win. Then, Tyler Reddick's got spots to win. We could easily end up in a spot where somebody with 1 win actually does not make the playoffs. And certainly I think it's going to be very hard to make the playoffs without a win, period. For Ty Gibbs, I think it's almost impossible, right? I don't think there's any way he can point himself in at this point. So he's going to be very hungry for it. And I understand that pick for sure. That's definitely respect on it. That moves us on. We'll get ourselves down to Penske here. This one's interesting for me, right? I think this could be another interesting spot. Not necessarily because any of them are strong drivers, just because where do you go, right? And so that's going to be my lead in on this. It's like, I don't know which of these I pick, right? We've seen that, Blaney's shown some speed, but Logano's shown some speed at times. Cindric, maybe. I don't know. I got no real stat that I can just latch myself into, and I'm a stat guy. That's normally where I go. So in absence of any stats, I'm just going to go with the guy that I would traditionally say I think is the best road course of these guys, and that's Austin Cindric. And I'm just going to go ahead and take that bet and say I got no particular reason for it other than if you just asked me blindly at the start of the year, who do I think is the best road course racer at Penske, I'd have said it's Austin Cindric. And I don't really see anything that's changed my mind on that. So I'll run with it there. So then I'll kick it to you, Chris. Do you got where are you going on this one?
I think it's hilarious that you introed that with I don't have any stats, because I kind of came into that the same way. I didn't even know what to write down for these 3. I was even just taking notes beforehand. All I was going to say was, and someone just said it in the chat, Team 54 just said it, right? Austin Cindric is supposed to be the supposed ringer. But honestly, I think Blaney has been better. Blaney's just been getting the finishes. Austin Cindric, he's should be the guy, but Ryan Blaney's just been fast everywhere, it seems like. So I'm going to go with Ryan Blaney just based on pure speed, pure driving ability, and not finding himself in chaos or finding himself trouble on pit road or whatever it may be. I think Blaney just feels the safest of the 3 to me. Now, if rain came into the equation, I think we got to push Logano up the board just for strategy purposes, but I think Blaney is the safest personally.
No, that makes sense for sure. I get it. All right, Tino, we gonna split it completely, or are you gonna join one of us?
Oh, it's definitely pretty intriguing to go Logano at this point, but I'm gonna go with the guy I had in mind, which is similar to you, Greg, for Ryan, and that's Austin Cindric in this one. Like you guys both said, right? Hard to find spots to sort of fit these Penske guys into, especially for narratives for them winning on road courses. And I haven't seen a spot recently where any of them looked like they could be a potential winner here. So who's going to get me the most points? Well, I think and I hope that's the driver that has the 7th best average finish in terms of the 2 last Chicago races in Austin Cindric. That's really, I feel like, talking stats, the best we can say for him or the other guy, Penske guys. So we got Austin Cindric with a 10.5 average finish. Next up would be Joey Logano with a 15.5. And honestly, too, to your point, Chris, Ryan Blaney has surprised me. For Chicago himself, or all road course rather, he finished his 16th in terms of average driver rating. So to me, that's not too bad with a 17.3. That's not where I expected him. He's above Kyle Larson. He's right below Ty Gibbs. So that is a good pick, I would say, from a Blaney standpoint. But for me, I got to go with Austin Cindric just because I want a little bit extra finishes in here. Maybe I can get a top 10 out of him, finishing 15th in this place last year as well.
All right, that again, we got not a whole lot there to make any sense of it. So it's hard to argue with that logic. All right, so we kick it down to our big 3. Tino, I'll turn right back to you. Where are you going with this?
Sweet. Well, this was a spot where I really initially thought I was going more Hendrick focused. There's some drivers out there that are still left on the board for the big 3. I don't know, could be a William Byron spot, could be a Kyle Larson spot, but it's not going to be either of those for me here. Greg, you alluded to it earlier on in the show where, it's been a Chevy type of racetrack, but I feel like, we talked about some Toyotas being fast here from time to time, and they could potentially get the win from Bell. But it's going to be someone that we've talked about already, Ty Gibbs. I got to go steal your pick here, Chris, for Phil in the Joe Gibbs spot. I just feel like I can't miss out on a potential Ty Gibbs victory. And I love the position that he's in right now. We talked about it too. From a standing standpoint, he needs a win. And to go to a track like this, needing a win, I just feel like they're going to go all out, do whatever you can to get that. I don't see William Byron taking the same risks, which, hey, I guess you can look at it from 2 different standpoints. He already has a win, so there's less to lose from a Byron point of view. But to me, if I'm comparing Gibbs against Larson or Byron in this one, I just feel like he has more to lose or more to gain, rather. Doesn't matter how you say it. I just think this could be a spot for him. Team 54 saying he needs a win for his mental health. Well, me too in the draft. So we'll see how this Ty Gibbs pick goes.
Yeah, no, you're 100% right, and I think you've both talked about him. He's going to be on the winning, like on whatever the race winning strategy is. Like as that plays out in the race, whatever looks like the optimal way to win the race, that's where he's going to be, right? He is not going to be going after points. He's not going to be sticking out there, trying to grab stage points. Those don't do him any good, right? Like those are lost. So he's going to be going hard for it. So I see that as well. Chris, who are you going to grab here?
This is I feel like a really pivotal point for this draft, right? Because like you said, we've got 3 other Hendrick guys to choose from. We could go the opposite Gibbs guy, like Tino just did. To me, it comes down to 2 guys, but I think I'm going to stick with the JGR camp, and I'm going to go Christopher Bell. Nice. Just purely based on the fact that I mean I was in denial for a while that Christopher Bell was actually like a good road course driver, but like he's all the way there. Like he is a very good road course driver. Just looking this year alone, winner at COTA, runner up in Mexico, 4th and 2nd in driver rating. I mean, how much better can you get than that? And the fact that he was 6th and 2nd in driver rating in Chicago in the last 2 years, I think he's knocking on the door to get another road course win this year. And he's sort of kind of been like in the Larson camp where he's kind of been like he started out hot and it's kind of been slumping a little bit. So I feel like he does need like a big week. And I don't know. I think Toyota's going to break the Chevy show, we'll call it, at Chicago.
No, I mean, I think, again, we all kind of have that thought process. I was sitting here and I was kind of, before the show, I've got literally a question mark on my notes for this one, because there are, so many different ways that you could go with this. I was going to go Ty Gibbs. I'm not going to go Ty Gibbs now, because if I go Ty Gibbs, we've all picked Bell and Gibbs at some point on this. So I'm going to go the other way that I was thinking about, and I'm going to take Chase Elliott here, because again, I'm just going to look back at Mexico in the wet at Mexico. Dude found a way to, just put together a performance. Obviously, SVG just blew everybody out of the water, but he was racing hard. He performed really well. Hurt me late passing Bowman. I had Bowman for a top 3, and he bumped Bowman out of that spot. So it hurt me from the betting standpoint at Mexico when he did that. So maybe he will come back and give me a little bit of favor, do some nice stuff for me here, and rack up some points on that. So, all right, we're gonna move on, get ourselves some RFK. I think we've perhaps moved out of the interesting part here, because I feel like we may all kind of know where we're going here. I'll start it off. I'm gonna take my boy Chris Buescher. Interestingly, this has been probably his worst of the street road courses over the past couple of years. He's not been great. But the counterpoint is, even when his average running position at these courses hasn't been great, the dude just finds a way to finish, right? And so that's what I'm looking at. The guy knows how to finish. He finds a way to get it done every time. And so what am I going to say against that? Why am I going to go against the guy who just seems to know how to get those top 10 finishes? Yeah, I mean, Team 54, Buescher, next topic. I think we're probably all going to be along the same lines. Chris, you got anything different here?
No, absolutely not. This is a pretty easy one. Yeah, Chris, he's got some crazy stat I think I saw where he had like 10 top 10s in a row at one point at road courses in this next gen era. It's just consistency upon consistency. We saw him absolutely get that victory over SVG at the Glen last year, which was phenomenal run by him. But yeah, I mean, just when you're comparing him against the other two, it's just not even an argument. It's just not even close.
Don't disagree, Tino. You gonna make a bold pick here, or?
Oh, I want to, but I can't. So you can fill me in for Chris Buescher as well. And honestly, if I went in a different direction, I'd probably think I was crazy and the sunburn was getting to my head, seeping in there to the brain. I will say this. Kyle asked in the chat, can you make a Ryan Preece case? So I'm going to try to, if that means anything, just by listing off his finishes at road course races for Preece. Finished 15th in Mexico City, did finish 15th at the Chicago Street Race the first year. But aside from that, he's just too inconsistent for me to pick him to even try to be different in this one, I would say, Kyle. Right, we're looking at a 33rd at Coda, 25th at the Roval last year. Chicago Street in 2024 was 34th, and he's starting these races as well back in the pack. He got a little bit lucky, Mexico City starting second. Everything outside of that has been 21st and back in the last 5 races. So to me, you can't make a Ryan. I mean, the best Ryan Preece that you can make is what I just said there. And to me, I wouldn't really buy in on any of that. Having one top 15, it did have the top 10 at Watkins Glen last year, but that's one top 10 in the last 13, 14, 15, 16, 19 races for Ryan Preece at road courses. So I thought that would be a fun thing to do just to answer that question there. But overall, got to be Chris Buescher here for sure.
Yeah, as you say that, I'm just was really quickly pulling up the loop edge to see if I could find something, find a way to make that argument. And again, as you say, it'd be nice, it'd be interesting to make that argument. But I don't think it's there. It's just just not the consistency or anything that you want to see there if you're gonna kind of make that pick. Yeah, I mean, maybe in 23, he had a string of teens starts, or teens finishes, but now we're going to look at that and say that's 2 years old. Nah, that's hard. I can't get there. So all right, moving ourselves on to Spire. Tino, I will let you kick off Spire on where we're going to go with these guys.
Well, I appreciate that because I think this one may be the start to another sweep with Michael McDowell for me. In this one, I just feel like it's a no-brainer here. I mean, hey, maybe Carson Hocevar could be a play too, so I'm excited to see what you guys have to say. But if we're talking, road course wins in the next gen era, he has one, which I think to mention that is big because you see Tyler Reddick with 3, Kyle Larson with 3, Bell Byron with 2. I look at those guys who have won because who I think the winner of this race is going to come from that list. Yeah, I think it would be a repeat road course winner at Chicago. So we look at SVG, obviously, but I can see a Chris Buescher winning this race and AJ Allmendinger. And that's why I loop in Michael McDowell. He wouldn't be at the top of my list. Equipment wise, I just feel like if it was him versus Ty Gibbs, I could see Ty Gibbs or Christopher Bell beating him based off of speed. But I was excited to see what he could do at Mexico. Didn't live up to the full hype I had wanted from him. I wanted him to contend a little bit more. But for looking at him at Chicago, third in terms of driver average finish with a 6th place there, 2 top 10s. I love to see 2 top 10s here. That's where I really want to sort of find him for. I'm going to look at right now for a top 10, see if there's any plus money on the Action Network for Michael McDowell. And you get one on Caesars at plus 110. To me, that would be a great value play there for a top 10 Michael McDowell on the Chicago street course. This is a similar spot to Ty Gibbs. I can also see him being in, maybe not too much desperation because Sonoma's also coming up, Super Speedway and Daytona too. But if he's going to get in the playoffs, I could see him potentially needing to win here to do so.
No, 100%. Makes some perfect sense there. I'll take the next one, and so I'm gonna go different than that, and I'm gonna take Carson Hocevar, and I'm gonna say, look, the guy has shown some pretty decent speed at these road courses. He's got a 3rd place finish last year at Watkins Glen, a 12th place at the Roval, 13th earlier this year at Coda. Mexico City was a disaster for him, right? Like that was not there. He was never at any point showed any real promise or speed. Here's the other problem, and here's why this is perhaps a risky pick. But I'm going to stick with it. And this is a track where payback could come to him, right? This is a track where you've got those slow corners. Somebody could, just lock up. Ryan Blaney mentioned it and said, "Oh, maybe I'll just lock up and get into the back of him, right? Because finally Hocevar didn't do anything stupid on the track, and then his social media team goes out there and just reminds Ryan Blaney that he owes him. So he's got 2 guys who owe him. Ricky really owes him. Like, Ricky's got to do something. And Blaney has been reminded that he owes him. So this is a track where that could happen, right? You've got those slow corners, so payback could happen and not really put anybody at physical risk, and so the drivers are more likely to do it. So it's risky for that point. But look, he's too talented to not get the finishes. He's an absolute nut job, like in his head. He needs to grow up. He's got a lot to do there. But the talent is undeniable. And with Spire bringing, good cars, I'll roll with it. So Chris, where are we going?
I'm going to roll with Tino on this one. Michael McDowell for sure. 5th and 7th place finish at Chicago in the 2 years we've been here, and then so far this year a 10th at Coda, and I guess we won't talk about Mexico, but either way, Michael McDowell, kind of like Buescher, right? I mean, it just seems like consistent comes at these road courses. Ever since he won, oh God, what did he win last year? He won
the Indy.
That's right. Yeah. It just feels like that was kind of always the point that we were hoping Michael McDowell would get to, and then he got to it, and now it feels like he's just got like the utmost confidence in these tracks, and he knows it's kind of, we used to have that thought about him at super speedways, but I don't feel like we do anymore. It's kind of flipped now. He's kind of like our road course guy. But yeah, Michael McDowell is kind of the easier pick here. I think Hocevar is your ceiling pick for sure, but obviously has the most turmoil to go wrong. Michael McDowell just feels the safest.
Mm-hmm.
No, that I agree with you guys for sure. Hocevar, my notes literally say, talk about all that risk, all these guys who owe him, that we just talked about. So it's risky, but I agree. The upside I think is there, but so certainly no argument on the Michael McDowell. He is the consistent, and a couple of years ago, he was right there with Buescher on all those top 10s. It made me a lot of money on some top 10 picks a couple of years back because books just kept giving us the plus 150 and stuff on. It's like, I'm going to take it on a guy who I know gets there. All right, we'll jump down to the best of the rest. Tino, I will jump back to you. Who are we going here? Is this going to actually be hard for any of us?
Yeah, technically there's a lot of options here, but the one I got to go with is the driver where it says best of the rest. Well, the best right now is going to be SVG at these types of racetracks. The fact that he put up a 17-second margin of victory in the last road course race and won here before on the street course and, would have had a strong showing, I'm sure, if it wasn't for some incidents last year, or in the earlier going. So to me, I think it's got to be SVG here. I can really see him winning this race if it's not for, a strategy call. Or, if he doesn't win it, I can see a Tyler Reddick beating him, but it's going to have to be Christopher Bell as well. I just feel like it's going to be it's going to have to be the best of the best to go up and get SVG in this one, especially with him locked in the way we saw in Mexico like that. To me, with him being familiar at this track too, I think that's where I don't think it'll be a 17-second margin of victory or anything like that. But I think the reason that's true is because the other drivers in the field have more experience on this racetrack. Obviously, we went to Mexico for the first time, but the fact that SVG has raced here before, the best equipment he's probably racing in with the 88 car, it'd be a surprise to me to not see him finish top 3 to top 5 or win the race here.
No doubt, Chris. I assume we're right there.
Yeah. I mean,
I'm just gonna write him in for all of us.
Yeah. I saw you type them. Yeah, just go ahead. But yeah, I think Tino has actually been a little too nice to the rest of the field here. I think it could be another 17-second victory. This is where SVG came from. This is what he did for a living before he came to NASCAR, was street racing. So, I just think that this is his bread and butter. Like you just said, he won Mexico City the first time it went there. I thought that was a no-brainer going into it because nobody had a leg up. Nobody had that track history like everybody else did. Chicago's similar in that vein because, like we touched on in the beginning, we haven't had a dry race here. We've had rain race. We haven't. So yes, we've got some laps here, but it's still, to me, it feels so new that I still think Shane still holds that leg up on everybody else. Now he does have another supercar driver in the field matched up against him, so that'd be kind of fun to see. But I don't know if that's really going to matter. I think Shane is going to run away with this one.
No, I'm with you. We actually show value on him when we saw the 250, that's value in our simulations that win the race, and it pains me to bet that number, but I did. We've got his fair odds at plus 223. And if anything, we're not. We're not giving him enough credit, right? I actually took the no on him last year and I made money on that, but I was panicked early in that race because he looked like he was going to just dominate the field again. And then, a little bit of bad luck lucked me into winning that bet. But yeah, there's no real reason to argue otherwise. So, all right, we'll get to our wild card then, and well, Chris, I'll let you pick it first. To I don't know, maybe it's an advantage, maybe it's a disadvantage. I don't know, but I'll give it to you to let you start the wrap up on it.
Yeah. So again, I think this is where it gets interesting again, right? Because it brings all those guys back into play from the big three here. So yeah, I think the one guy that I said earlier when I was between two, and I didn't really, I went with Bell. The other guy was Chase Elliott, and I think that I have to go Chase here. To kind of round this out, when I put my own numbers together on I pulled a bunch of stats together on my own, and he ranked second for me coming into the week. So no reason to not throw him into the lineup here. And it just feels like he hasn't had a win in the next gen era road course. And yes, I know if Phil was here, he would talk about the back-to-back winner curse, right? It's not something he likes to do, but it just feels like Chase is knocking on the door. Like he's right here to finally being back in victory lane, the road courses. So I think it'd be dumb for me to not round out my lineup here with him.
No, that makes sense, and it's hard to argue with that for sure. I think I'll take it up, and then I'll let Tino. I'll let him wrap on it. I'm gonna go risky here. All right, and risky for a couple reasons. One, my guy Will Brown has got to make the race to start with, right? He's in an open car, so he's got to make the race to start with. Related to that, all right, when we've seen Kaulig bring a third car, it's been not the greatest, right? Counterpoint, Will Brown was whipping that RFK car last year, and the extra RFK cars have been nothing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, the guy just seems to have something. Like he's got something. He's the reigning Supercars champ. He won. What do my notes say on him? He has 3 street course wins last year in Super Cups. He won Streets of Melbourne earlier this year. I don't know. It seems like if there's an opportunity for something wild to happen here, this is it. Our Sims are going to tell me that I'm absolutely wrong, that I'm an idiot, that I don't know what I'm doing. But that's because the Sims hate that extra calling car, right? But again, let's flip it around. Like, really, do we think that, he's not really the second car this week? No, I think he probably is, right? I think this is an SVG and SVG dinger sort of deal from last year. I see there's immense upside here, and I'm going to take a swing for the fence with the upside. So then I will kick it over to you, Tino. Let's wrap it up. Who do you got to close us out?
Oh, man. Well, it's been such a great draft with you fellas thus far. Great picks, exciting action. And, when I'm breaking down my final pick, there's a lot of different directions I could have gone. I was thinking about Kyle Larson. I was thinking about William Byron. Who can get me a strong finish here? And, well, as I begin to think about those different drivers, I think about, how hot I'm feeling with the sunburn and how much it's burning the inner passion in my soul to get a win in the draft this week. And I think something that can help me cool down would be a nice Slurpee. And Kyle Busch is racing the Slurpee car at Chicago. We're talking about back-to-back top 10 finishes here in this one for KFB, and I really think he can get it done. I didn't think I was initially going with him, but I've been having him as my wild card pick. He's been locked in recently. Hasn't maybe helped, with the finishes he's gotten, but I think if there was a chance for me to get someone that has the highest points potential on the board right now, I think it would be Kyle Busch. He's third right now in terms of drivers average finish at Chicago, and those 2 top 10s really help. And the chat's going crazy for me here. Team 54 saying Kyle Busch winning at Chicago would be bizarre. My buddies in the chat, Sean McBride, Sam Hall, thought I was thinking Logano, and I wasn't. And Sean McBride's a big Joey Logano fan, so he said, "Shut up, idiot." But Sean, if you don't remember, you don't know what you're talking about, and I do. And that's Robert also saying he loves it. So, yeah, I think it could be risky for sure. But the other guy I was going to go with was AJ Allmendinger, and he just hasn't had the places here. He hasn't had the finishes. I think that's the biggest thing for me is in 2023, he ran well. Finished inside the top 10 in the first 2 stages, ended up finishing 17th. Last year, 2024, got into an accident. So I really don't know, what to expect out of Allmendinger in this one, where I could go with the Kyle Busch that's got 2 straight top 10s. So hopefully it plays out well for me here with the Slurpee to cool me down.
Yeah, no, that's an interesting one. We will, we got to see where that goes. But no, this has been a blast. I think, we've got some interesting ones here. We got some differentiation, despite some of the obvious ones. I think we a good one. So I'm excited to see how it plays out. So with that, I will wrap it up. I will say, Tino, Chris, you got any closing words for our friends? It has been a blast running through this with y'all. It's been a good time. Any closing words for our viewers?
Well, I'll definitely shout out everyone in the chat as well. I think they made it. They always continue to make it, a great time. And to see you guys, two people that are normally watching in the chat, to be on live with us for the show, filling in for Ryan and Phil. I appreciate you guys there. I'll shout out Kyle. Phil was in the chat himself. Big Ross. Mark in Mississippi was here. Sam Hall, Sean McBride, Brian Twining, Big Ross, Robert, Kyle, GoFest, Troy. Everyone that sort of commented and tuned in, Team 54, always appreciate. And then we do have a comment from Ryan himself I wanted to save towards the end. He said, kills me to miss the show, but I'm in great hands with Greg, and Phil's in great hands with Chris. Thank you guys again. Can't wait to listen. He'll be back next week, and maybe he'll be back a winner. I'm hoping not. I want to get one from you guys here in this one. Sam Hall also saying, Tino, I hate Sean and anything Connecticut, but Tino. Well, not exactly. Love you guys both. Super excited for the New Hampshire Motor Speedway race coming at you. They're over there from there. And you guys can follow me at Tino, PATTIGNO, for more content throughout the race weekend. I'll be on Sirius XM NASCAR Radio doing my 2B segment as well. You can catch that on Friday morning. Chris, let us know where everyone can find you, and any other closing remarks, any trash talk you got, anything you want Phil to know if he's tuning in for your draft in this one.
Yeah, no, I've been texting Phil for the past few weeks saying, like, hey, cough, you feeling okay this week? Because I've been dying to get back on here with you guys, because I had so much of a blast the last time, and I haven't been able to tune in live, but I'm listening to the podcast every week, because I love the show. I love the format. I think it's so much fun. And it's fun to talk about guys. Like, we get to talk about so many drivers. You get to talk about things outside of the betting world, right? We're just looking at it from like a fantasy standpoint almost. So yeah, I appreciate you guys letting me come on and join you guys. It's always so much fun. But yeah, we gotta get Phil up the board, and we gotta get me on the board. So I'm feeling good about my lineup, and I hope Phil is too, even though he's cracked back in his seat drinking some brews at a Phillies game right now. He's living life. But we're gonna get him victory lane for sure. But yeah, you can find our content. We're at flag_hunting on Twitter. Ian, my counterpart, he does all PGA betting. He typically releases his cards on, actually, I think he did this morning. He also does like 4,000 words on Rotoballer every week. So he writes a ton of stuff for PGA World for anybody that wants to get to the golf betting. And then I typically release my cards. I'll do like a Saturday qualifying sweat on Saturday, a Sunday card as well to follow up. And we track all of our plays on Action Network. So give us a follow over there as well.
All right, gentlemen. Well, it has been a pleasure. On the off chance any of you don't know where to find our Win the Race content, we are at Win the Race P1 on Twitter X. I'm G Mathern 84 over there. Give us a follow, come along with us. If you're not a member of the site, I will kick this back up, because Ryan will give me a whole bunch of grief if I don't kick it all the way back up to this. We got 40% off our monthly membership for the rest of this year. We've got our 20,000 race simulations, which we talked about a couple of times earlier today. In that, we also have the ability, if you are in our Discord and a member and you've got a group that you want us to run, we can go put that through the sim. And that's how I can tell you that, our boy is, our boy Toddy, he's got 50% on his team. So I can tell you that through our simulations. We got the Loop Edge, which, we've talked about some in previous times. It's got all of the loop data from the past couple of years loaded into it, along with our information on driver performance and speed to let you look through it. And of course, the Discord, which is always full of fun people talking and having a good time, just talking through strategy for betting and for daily fantasy. So with that, folks, it has been an absolute blast. Tino, Chris, I had an absolute great time with you. Thank you so much for joining us, and we will see you all next week. So long, folks.